Good evening. We started the week talking about the prospect of a ceasefire in Gaza. And last night, Sky sources suggested Israel and Hamas were moving closer to an agreement, except for one sticking point. And it's a big one. Where will Israeli forces remain in Gaza after any ceasefire is declared? And crucially, for how long?
First comes strength, then comes the peace. And we hope we'll realize the fruits of strength very soon, in peace.
That was Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was saying peace through strength, according to him. He's holding almost daily talks in Washington with Donald Trump, all whilst parallel negotiations take place in Qatar. The US president is still hopeful of substantial progress this week.
But I think we have a chance this week or next week. Not definitely. There's nothing definite about war and Gaza and all of the other places that we all deal with so much. But there's a very good chance that we'll have a settlement, an agreement of some kind this week and maybe next week, if not.
And in the past hour, Hamas says it has agreed to release 10 hostages, though the timeline is unclear. Let's just bring in our international correspondent, John Sparks, who joins us from Washington. And John, you know, we keep being told that they're closer and closer to some kind of ceasefire deal. And there seems to be these small sticking points, almost like we've been here before.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely right, Yelda. I think this week the US has presented a version of reality that they are getting closer and closer to a ceasefire deal, that the momentum is building. And I think the presence of the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, in Washington has lent itself to that. I mean, he will have been, by the time he's finished, he will have been here for 4 days. And that means that Trump, and they've had several meetings already, he's been able to put personal pressure on him. He's been able to do it in the face. And you know what? Netanyahu owes him, right? The Americans came in during the attack on Iran with their high-tech bombers and their big munitions. So Netanyahu owes the Americans. But there do seem to be issues here that they are really struggling to solve. And it has been reported here that a Qatari interlocutor was in the White House for meetings yesterday evening that have been described as tense and difficult. And those were about the withdrawal of Israeli forces, the IDF. How far would they withdraw to in event of a ceasefire deal, in event of an agreement being reached? Those discussions were very difficult. It has been reported eventually the Israelis came back with a new map showing a wider area that they would be prepared to withdraw to. Again, we then thought, right, new momentum. We've got new momentum here, but then we moved to today, and Trump, he was meeting with 5 African leaders. He was asked about the Gaza ceasefire, and as we've heard, he said, maybe this week, maybe next week, but it's difficult. It didn't feel like they're on the verge of an agreement. And then we have had a statement released by Hamas tonight, and I'm going to read a little bit of that for you. In this statement, Hamas have said, in its keenness to succeed in the ongoing efforts, the movement has shown the necessary flexibility and agreed to release 10 prisoners. Now, I do think that is significant. They say they're agreeing to release 10 prisoners if there is a deal. That's up from 8. That's up from 8 hostages. They go on to say the key points remain under negotiation. Foremost among them, the flow of aid, the withdrawal of the occupation from the territories of the Gaza Strip, that's Israeli soldiers, and the provision of real guarantees for a permanent ceasefire. I'll go on. Despite the difficulty of negotiations on these issues, so far, due to the occupation's intransigence, they're referring to the Israelis there, we continue to work seriously and with a positive spirit. So, I mean, the Americans have been saying 3 of 4 issues have been solved. There we've got Hamas raising more than one issue there. It does seem like there is a long way to go. Netanyahu is here. He'll be here until tomorrow evening. I think the Americans would like to have something to announce while he is here. But I think we're witnessing a different reality here, Yelda. This is a different reality that is much more difficult. We are looking ultimately at a very difficult problem to solve. The Israelis, Netanyahu has promised, he has pledged to eliminate Hamas in its entirety. Hamas is committed to ensuring its existence. That is a very difficult problem to solve for the interlocutors, for the Americans, the Qataris, the Egyptians. And I think we're seeing the fruits of that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, as we said at the beginning of this conversation, it feels very much like we've been here before. Thank you so much for bringing us up to date.